Hi, welcome to Let's Talk. My name's Phil, and as always, we have Kenzie and a special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Samuel. My name's Samuel.
What do you do? What do you do here?
So I'm studying abroad for a semester.
Yeah, you're obviously not American.
Obviously not American. I'm from England, Cambridgeshire. That's about an hour and a half train journey north of London. And I'm studying mass media, aspiring sort of television producer or production manager, that kind of thing. So that's kind of my career path where I want to go.
Cool, awesome. We got some cool topics. Do you want to start off with your topic? What it's like being British in America, the differences and.
Well, of course. I mean, so studying abroad here. I mean, even for a month, I feel like I've settled in well. People are quite welcoming for international students, I find. But I think kind of the biggest differences that I've noticed between sort of my own humble little village in South Cambridgeshire, rural place, that everything's so vast and you get a sense of how big America is even from a small town like Maryville. Like, for example, you need like a car to drive to Walmart and stuff like that, whereas where I'm from, you could easily walk around to the local supermarket and whatnot. So you do get a weird sensation of how big things are over here.
Yeah, there's a lot of especially in Missouri, a lot of wide open country.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, is there any difference in university and American college? What's the difference there?
So I find that it's a bit more intense in regards to the contact hours you have here at university. So where I'm from, in Birmingham City University, so that's sort of Midwest of England, we have 3-hour lessons. So it might be a case of, for example, last semester was TV documentaries, and I'd have 3-hour seminar, workshop period, and that'd be once a week. And then I might have another one in the evening, 4 till 7 or something. That'd be sort of TV promotional materials and stuff like that. So on average, 9 hours, 10 hours contact hours, and the rest of it is kind of do-it-yourself, independence. And whereas obviously here, I'm in every day of the week, and I get a sense that it's much more regimented. So that's kind of the biggest difference in terms of education, that whereas back at home, I can go out and be more independent, and my learning's kind of on me, and the lecturers will be there to sort of facilitate and guide the learning. Whereas with here, you get a sense that you're in the class every day, and it's much more teacher-student controlled environment, basically.
That's interesting, because that actually sounds similar to the art program that we have here.
Sure.
I'm a studio art major, and we do 2-hour classes twice a week, and then for every day in class that you have, you're supposed to have at least 9 hours outside of class that you're still working on your projects and sort of guiding yourself. So I think that's interesting that we sort of model our art program after that, but everything else is very rigid and structured.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure if it's just a media thing, or if those who are doing other sort of subjects find that the schedule's a bit more independent, but yeah.
I mean, I am a media major, but I'm graduating at the end of the semester, and so I have just a lot of upper divisional classes and whatnot left. So I'm taking Intro to Shakespeare and Urban Sociology and American Military History, and just stuff that I want to learn about because I find interesting.
Yes.
And just every day of the week, classes and whatnot, and I'm just okay, it's Friday. I don't have my Urban Sociology class because it's one of the blended courses, so it's online, one day a week. You have an assignment due or whatever. It's I don't have to be up at 8 o'clock to go to class at 10 and whatnot. So I don't want to go to my other 2 classes.
Yes,
but it's very much just class every day.
Awkwardly timed then, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Partially my fault how I scheduled it out, but I wanted to take those classes, and just how it worked out.
Sure.
Have you noticed any difference in like the students, like how the students act, like in America as opposed to over there?
So there's obviously the drinking age in England is 18, whereas here it's 21. So you'll find that like on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, they'll have certain student nights sort of thing where alcohol's a bit cheaper. So a lot of people might go out with midweek, so people might be a bit reckless kind of thing, or a bit tired in the mornings, a bit hungover. And then obviously on the weekend, it's kind of for them to party towards in the evenings and stuff. But, you know, in day-to-day sort of stuff, I find that, particularly here, that students are more kind of dedicated or more interested in their subjects, I find, or passionate. Whereas on the flip side, in Birmingham, this isn't generally speaking, but I find that there's more of an occurrence that students perhaps aren't as engaged because they don't have as many contact hours. So I think for some students it works like the English sort of system where, you know, it's very much independent learning and you are geared up towards that. But I find that if you have more contact hours, then that doesn't neglect people that do learn independently, but it also caters for those that perhaps need more guidance towards education. So I suppose that's kind of the difference there, really. One caters for kind of both types of student, whereas one tries to make you a certain type of student.
Yeah. So when you first came to America, what was like the big difference that you noticed immediately? Like what caught you right as you got here?
Gosh, well, I had a transfer flight in Northern Carolina, and I was a bit stressed because the first time I'd ever flown by myself before, and it was quite a daunting trip as well. So I had missed my changeover flight, so I had 4 hours to kill in this terminal. And I sat down and I had like a cream cheese bagel, and that was absolutely gorgeous. It was like cinnamon, full of calories, but I was absolutely like a taste sensation. It was gorgeous. And then for some reason, I saw like loads of people in military uniforms and stuff like that, and apparently they have lots of military bases situated in North Carolina. So that was kind of my first impression of America, like these sort of
just soldiers everywhere.
Massive, yes, it's like army everywhere, and like these beautiful cream cheese bagels, which were just gorgeous.
America, the land of bagels and armies.
Yeah, that was my first impression, my first experience, so to speak.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I've never been to a different country.
Sure.
So I don't like. Is this your first like overseas experience, or have you?
Well, I've been on family holidays before, and you know I'm quite fortunate to do so. Going around Europe in England, or you know when you're from England, is much cheaper than per se if you were going to America.
Yeah.
So you can go to Spain for like you know $10 or something like that. Yeah. It's incredibly cheap, so you can see like the Spanish vineyards and stuff like that, and it doesn't cost you a lot. Whereas, you know, over here, I feel like going to a different state, even that's a trip in itself. So that's why I feel like out here that you're kind of more isolated to yourselves, whereas you know, like people from England, they get to mix with, you know. In the UK, it's obviously 4 different countries, so you can go visit Scotland, and it's their different kind of it's different kind of place there, and then you can go to Europe. Spain will have a very different kind of day-to-day life than something like Poland or something. So you can kind of experience the different cultures in a tight kind of geographical area, whereas with here, you're kind of all together under one big country, but I suppose you do get a change in cultures from state to state anyway.
It depends.
It's less state to state and more like regional.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
Like the far north is like much different than the Midwest, and then the South and East Coast and West Coast are like way different. So it's not really on a state to state, because like you can go from Missouri to Iowa and like not even know it, but like
Really?
if
you
you
can go from
flew
Nebraska
from New York
to Iowa
to
and
LA,
not
it would
even
be
know
like
it.
Gosh.
an entirely different place.
See,
Yeah,
I'm
no.
learning this.
So yeah, you're talking about how it's so cheap to go like places over there, and I'm sitting here like it cost me $30 depending on how much gas is at the point to go home,
Mm.
which is 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of hills and a lot of driving.
It's a lot of Nebraska.
It's actually not a lot of Nebraska. It's more Iowa.
Oh,
I had to
that's
go through a
even
lot of
worse.
like country Iowa.
Kidding.
It's
Well,
not
it was
fun.
like I was studying in Birmingham, and I had a friend that lived in Glasgow, and that's sort of western sort of Scotland, and that's about a 4-hour train journey, and it cost around £55 for a return ticket, and that's like travelling half the country basically for £55, and I think
good.
and that's a return as well, so you kind of get a gist.
Traveling
of,
half of America is like
yeah,
at least 100
gosh.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, how long are you in America? How long are you going to be here for?
Until the 28th of April, so I've got a
Right
somewhat
before
short.
graduation.
Yeah. So
Do you have like a bucket list of things to do in America before you go back?
I do. I would like to go to St. Louis.
Oh.
That's a
and-
trip and a
That is a-
half.
Yeah,
a
that
trip.
is, and also the Ozarks as well. So that's
Yeah.
another kind of
Oh,
a long
yeah.
trip. But those, I suppose, if I go to those two places, then I've kind of done Missouri, so to speak. I've seen the sights. But yeah, I I'm making friends that
Have
can
you been
drive.
to Kansas City?
Yeah. So yeah, I went to an off-Broadway tour
Oh.
to visit various advertisement agencies and,
Did
stuff.
you eat barbecue while you were there?
No, we didn't. Unfortunately, they did serve some pizzas.
That's like
which
the
is quite
Missouri
nice.
food is barbecue.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
That I'm adding that to your bucket list for you. You have to go to Kansas City and eat Oklahoma Joe's.
Oh,
Or I guess
okay.
it's Kansas City Joe's now. They changed the name. Barbecue.
Sure.
See, whenever I hear bucket list, like, I never think of Missouri. I'm in Missouri. I've been in Missouri for, like, college and whatnot, but from Nebraska, I'm always like, nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
why would you go there and have a bucket list other than if you want to go to the zoo?
Well, I guess
Oh my-
like
Let's go to the zoo. That's
I
about
guess,
it.
like when you're in a different environment, and I kind of get the sense from other international students, any new place that you go to is an experience. Like for me, going to Walmart was kind of like a weird experience.
Yeah.
And for you that's nothing. For you
Yeah.
that's
Why?
nothing.
Why was it weird?
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time.
Well, it's like we don't have like these massive. Well, we do have kind of like large retail stores, but Walmart's kind of everything in one building. Like you have like you can sell guns in one part, and you've got like baby clothes in another.
Yeah.
Bit worrying, but you know that's the kind of
And then you
setup
have,
you have.
but then the problem with that is you have people who think that employees know everything about everything.
Yeah, I
I
can
work
imagine
there.
that.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
We're not gonna get into your job right
No,
now. We're
no.
not gonna talk
But like
about
that's
that.
what people think. Like I feel like just people are just like, oh, you work here? Oh, do you know about this really obscure thing like on the other side of the store? I'm like, no.
Not
Anyway.
on the flip side, you can have retail shops that about the size of this room, or maybe slightly bigger, but
If you go to like a smaller town in Missouri, like the town I'm from, there's definitely like antique shops that are just like one room and an apartment above, and that's like pretty cozy, but it's not very common here in America anymore.
No,
'cause,
no,
like
no.
everything's gone corporate basically.
Yeah, it's like, do we have any like kind of older shops in Maryville?
in Maryville.
I've never
I don't-
noticed.
I don't know.
I've never seen any,
Yeah.
at least.
gosh.
There's Mary Mart, but
Well,
that's not a
Mm,
lot.
A lot of the
It's
stuff
just-
is closed down over there, though.
It is. It's true.
We find like where I'm from, which is a small village, actually a large village, about 7,000 people. I don't know how that compares to Maryville, but it's been like it's over 100 years old, like the village itself.
Mm.
And you have like old, like traditional English pubs, and I've got about like 4 of them in like about a kilometre stretch of road. So it's kind of like the old building, very quaint, very tightly sort of compact. There's a sense of community, I think, in English villages. And I think out here, you're very much more isolated. And I think that's kind of an eye-opener. Like if I want to go to London, I can hop on a train journey and go to London, the capital city. Whereas if I want to go to, I don't know, New York, that's more of a task to do, either fly or I drive.
Yeah.
That's and it will take a long time. So that's kind of the scale of things, as I said before. Like that's kind of the stark contrast. But yeah.
Okay, one more question before we move on.
Sure.
Are you homesick? Do you miss?
Yeah, I'm a bit homesick. Like, you've got the little line of flags, and I kind of walk past that, and every now and then I can see like the Union Jack
how
flying
sweet.
very proudly. And it's quite lovely to kind of have that attachment to the place where you were born and grew up in.
Proper English.
Yeah. I'm letting my side down here. But yeah, I do miss it. Like the other day, I made like a little cheesecake from my mum's recipes and stuff like that. And you know, you do miss it. But I'm kind of used to being away from home, from university. And whilst the distance isn't as dramatic, like studying at my university, I find it's all the same concept. Like, you're in a different place, different culture, different language, arguably. But in essence, it's the same. You're still being independent, even though it's a completely different setup. And I think that's kind of what a lot of international students acclimatized to.
Cool. Awesome.
Cheers.
All right. Moving on to a topic I know absolutely nothing about.
I just seem
Kinsey.
to like bringing those for you.
Yeah. What do you got here?
I mean, I've kind of grown out of this phase a little bit since high school, but I was very much into like the emo rock bands and whatnot in high school and whatnot. Yes, very much so.
Hell yeah.
And one of them just came out with a new album, and I saw the
What band?
music
was it?
video. Black Veil Brides. Very much like
The most emo
yes.
rock band.
Yes. And I totally agree with that, and I've like just whatever. I don't try to argue with people. I never really did, because I'm like, I like the music that I like. It makes me feel good inside, so whatever. But they came out with a new album, and I saw the music video for one of the songs, and I was like, right back in. Like,
You're hooked again.
dear.
aren't you?
Yes.
Uh-oh. You've spiraled out of control now.
So what about it?
I've-
Do you like about that sort of genre?
I guess like when I first started listening to the music, it was actually Fall Out Boy
Okay.
that got me pulled in, because I saw them on America's Got Talent forever ago.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'll listen to this. And then I was like, okay, I really like them. And then it just slipped into like, oh, here are these other bands that are really, really similar and whatnot. And then I'm just like, most all of my music is that. And the one thing I found that I could really connect to, which like my parents didn't understand, because they were like, this is just like devil sounding.
Get me, Mom.
Not traditional.
It's not,
by the
yeah, it's not
sense, yeah.
traditional. And they don't really care. Like, they've never tried to police what I listen to or what I watch or whatever. But the one thing I found is, even though they, like, now looking back on it, they kind of pander to certain, like, if people deal with, like, self-harming and stuff, they kind of, like, pander to, like, yes, we know exactly how you're feeling. Like,
Oh, I see.
stuff like that. I know, like, some of the bands, like, yes, they do have, like, they have members who have dealt with that, so it's very, like, true.
Personal,
But at the
yeah.
same time, they play it up a little bit and whatnot. And so I just, like, I found more comfort in the words rather than the actual music and whatnot. Like, and that's what people didn't understand, and I think still don't, is they didn't listen to kind of the words, because the lead singer.
So prepared.
I know. I was like, I didn't think this would come up, but the lead singer did. Andy Biersack went on a solo tour, just because he could. Not anything like band related. They're just like, I don't think they decided they needed a break, but they felt it was a good break, because it was like 4 years between their last album and this one.
Okay.
And I like found his music through that, and I was like, oh, wow, like, I know he's a good singer for the most, like, to me, I think he's a good singer and whatnot. And then he came out with an album, and he actually went on tour and came to Omaha, Nebraska, which is like half an hour from where I live.
Okay.
And so I immediately bought tickets because they were $25. And I was like, I'm going to go see this. And I went with a friend who knew nothing about it, nothing about him. I just needed someone to go with, because the person I was going to go with bailed on me at the last minute.
Okay, sure.
How rude.
It was
Yeah.
very rude.
Yeah,
It
not very
really was.
gentlemanly.
I was
yeah,
like,
or womanly.
okay, whatever. But it was in this like little bar and whatnot, and of course, like I was 18 at the time, so couldn't drink, but still allowed to get in.
Mm,
And I was very much engrossed in the show
yeah.
because I haven't gone to many concerts before, whatnot. But then afterwards, when we left, the person I went with looked at me and said, you know, that was actually really good. Like, I've never been into
Aw.
that kind of music, but just standing back and listening to the lyrics,
Sure.
it's very much a different experience than just hearing the, like, heavy guitar or, like,
As an
the-
outsider, yeah.
Yeah.
And like watching somebody sing music is like a totally different experience than just listening to it.
yeah.
Because then it feels more personal. You're actually like sympathizing with the person on the stage and that kind of thing.
And that's the thing that I try and get, like, people to realize is listen to the words or go, like, rather than just, like, everything that's going on. Because, like, a lot of this stuff is more, like, very much personal.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to connect to it, especially if you're in that very much, like, a state where you're not 100% okay in the head.
Why do you think that these sorts of bands and stuff like this genre, that they have like these deep emotional kind of roots lyrically, but for example, outsiders or people who don't listen to the genre and stuff like that, they're put off from understanding and listening to those lyrics because of the music style, or like because it's so heavy and intense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just a taste thing, really.
Sure.
It's very very
Yeah.
much a taste thing because I never used to like that kind of music because a lot of it has like kind of screamo in it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing and whatnot? And I don't even like. There's a select few bands that I like from this genre, but I think it's also with like personal taste. It's very much a like. Actually, I think it's mostly that like they hear the like heavy drums or whatever, they hear a scream on, they're like, nope, not gonna touch it. They're just, what are they talking about? And it's just like, this song's talking about like dealing with like self-harming or like hating yourself or whatnot,
Yes.
and
yeah.
like how to, I mean, they don't ever really go like fully in depth, but like it's very, I want to say almost cathartic. That's the right.
Yeah, I got you.
I was like, I know the word. It's not the right first. But I know, like, even when I wasn't really into listening to that music, if I was having a really bad day, I'd throw on my headphones and I'd pull up, like, a very much, like, screamo heavy song and blast it, like, 6 times in a row, and then I'd feel better.
So it's,
just
it's almost like a medium to kind of express your own emotions whilst kind of hearing someone do that for you, kind of.
Yes.
If I've hit the nail on the head there.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Exactly. Probably the best way to describe it. So.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, no. They came out, their new album, Black Veil Brides' new album, is called Veil. And the song that I listened to is called Wake Up.
Is it a black veil?
No.
And are they
it's
getting married?
V-A-L-E.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I got confused for a second.
And they've kind of had a running theme through like their last 3 albums with like kind of breaking, like going against social norms and whatnot. And the music video, I watched it like 6 times in a row at one point, and it's kind of the ending to this where they kind of get like caught, and they everyone around them is kind of like a hive mind going for like they all think the same thing and whatnot, and not being told what to think. And then it's just like in the music video they show like someone who turned off that like program, and everyone's like, what am I doing?
So to speak.
Yeah. And so I thought that was really cool. 'Cause it was more like a, hey, you need to kind of like think for your own and not go with what everyone else is thinking.
Come on,
Sure.
sheeple. God. don't be another sheep. I had a
very
similar
fun.
experience where I kind of fell out of. I used to be really into a cappella music,
Mm-hmm.
and and then I kind of stopped listening to it for a while, and then my girlfriend introduced me to a band called Home Free. They're sort of a country a cappella group. I don't normally listen to country, but like, I don't know, I just really liked their sound. And when I first listened to it, I used to be a tenor, because my favorite thing about a cappella is that like everybody can sing it, like, because there's a part for everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be good, but like, you could sing. And I used to be a tenor, and now I'm a bass. So
Yeah, how times have
it's
changed.
hard finding
yeah.
music to sing that's written for basses, because the market is mainly ruled by like baritones and tenors. So finding a song that I can actually sing along with, because I love to sing, was like really like empowering for me and made me happy, because I was like, yeah, I can sing even though I like don't have a super high squeaky little voice that I can sing in. Yeah.
We're joining on at a base level, basically.
Yeah. I connect with it. Yes, at the base level. Very good.
Oh, dear.
Have you had any sort of experience with that, where you sort of fell out of music and got swept back up in it?
So my taste in music varies from I don't know, like if there's a particular song, like I don't know, a bit of Eminem, kind of that sort of stuff, you know, which is quite intense, I suppose sometimes, and then stuff to classical music, or you know, maybe it might be songs like from the 60s or something. So my musical taste varies depending on my personal interest. So whether or not I like the tune of the song, it might be lyrically speaking, whether or not I like it, or might be like I resonate with it, or things like that. So it does vary. So when people ask me, do you follow a certain band or what music you're into, you know, it's just sort of play something and I'll see if I like it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I relate to that, definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
My musical taste varies from like Canadian folk music to like 90s indie rock, like
Oh yeah,
just
no.
weird genres that you wouldn't really think of, but like I really like and connect with the music on a base level. Sorry,
Well,
that was just a good joke. I had to bring it back up.
while there's a good chunk of my music is that like emo rock and whatever.
Edgy rock.
Yes, as you can tell, very edgy person. I mean, my closet is like 95% black clothes, but
I mean, it goes with everything. I can't blame you for that.
it's great. I love it. But you'll also, like, if you scroll through my music, you'll find, like, I'm not going to lie, I have, like, songs from Big Time Rush and One Direction on my phone.
Kenzie.
Not One Direction.
I'm
God.
Yes.
surprised at you.
You know, I'll have songs with that. I also have, like, Disney songs. I have a lot of, like, pop songs on there as well. I have a little bit of, like, stuff that I just really like. Like, I was at work one time, and they were playing Kelly Clarkson's Heartbeat song over and over again. Because, you know, radio, that's how it works. Everything's on a loop. And so I go home, and as soon as I get off work, I went and I added that song to my library.
Very nice. All right. Final topic, the one that I brought. Your favorite movie and your least favorite movie, and why? My favorite movie is Forrest Gump. Have you guys seen it?
Yes, yeah, that's a fabulous
Best
film.
movie ever.
Yeah.
I cry multiple times every time.
I miss you, Jenny.
I've seen it
Aw.
probably 100 times, and it still gets me.
Really?
But just, it's such a unique movie,
Yes.
following somebody from like, I don't know, like 8 years old, I guess, all the way up until like he's a father, and his child is like going through the same experience he had. But just, there's something, like, it feels good to watch somebody's story from start to finish, especially when it's such like an interesting life. You know, he served in Vietnam, and then he played ping pong professionally, and then he started a multi-million-dollar shrimping business.
Yes, yeah.
And like, there's just something like, it feels good, and it's almost empowering.
Yes, yeah.
To like, if this guy that like said he would never run, and like people called him stupid all the time, if he can like do all this, you know, meet the president multiple times, like maybe I can, you know, make something of myself.
Yes, yeah.
my least favorite movie is Iron Man 3.
My name is Tony Stark, and I'm not afraid of you.
Oh gosh, yeah, I hate that franchise. Yeah.
That movie is probably the worst movie I've ever seen, and it made a lot of money.
It's usually the way, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, part of Iron Man, so of course it's gonna make a lot of
Exactly.
money.
Lots of fan service. The complaint list is very long, but I'll keep it short. The movie didn't know what it wanted to do with Pepper Potts, because at first she was like, they advertised her as sort of like, oh, she's gonna put on the suit, she's gonna be a badass, you know, she's gonna like fight alongside him, and then she was like a damsel in distress for part of the movie, and there, we didn't really get much of her being like a strong, empowered woman. And then the movie takes place after the Avengers, but like they mention the Avengers all the time, but they never appear in the movie,
Yeah.
which is
yeah.
weird because in like there's like a big level threat happening. You'd think they'd, you know, like call the Avengers, but no,
Yes.
Tony Stark in his 1,000 Iron Man suits that he apparently had time to make in between 1 and 3
Yeah.
had to come save the day. And speaking of saving the day, the villain is probably the worst part of the movie. Because at first we thought it was the Mandarin, which like I'm a huge comic book nerd,
Sure.
and I was excited to see the Mandarin, but no, they were like, just kidding, wasn't the Mandarin. That's just an actor. He doesn't even exist in this universe. Here's this other guy. What
Sold a
the
bit
hell,
short
guys?
as a
Just
fan.
randomly halfway through the movie, they're like, gotcha, not the villain.
Yeah, it does seem.
I'm livid, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Kenzie?
I love horror films, and I love like horror books as well. So I think my favorite movie would have to be the first Insidious movie. I have yet to see the next installments of the series because even though I really want to, I just don't have the time to at the moment. But I really liked it because it didn't have, like, there's a lot of horror movies that have, like, you know, happy ending, like, oh, everything's gone and everything's fine.
One
This-
person escaped, yay.
Yeah.
No, this one, the family's dead and the youngest child is taken away by the monster. And I'm like,
Everything is wrong.
yes,
Tragedy, isn't it? Really.
this is what I like about This is what I like about like horror movies. Like, I don't want a happy ending, and I want something to be like off
Because
and
if
wrong
that
about
situation was real, like nobody would make it out. They'd all be done.
it. Yeah.
exactly.
And like during the movie, it's been a while since I've seen it, but during the movie, they like tried to move around to get away from it, but it, like as soon as it latched onto them, I was like, nope, not leaving you. I'm gonna turn your youngest child against you. Your youngest child will kill you, film you while killing you, and then I'm gonna just take it for myself. And that's, I think that's just why I liked it, is because it had just the different ending.
Yeah.
My least favorite movie. It was supposed to be a horror movie. Made me laugh way more, but it's called Hell at Heathridge.
Okay.
I was going to
Okay.
have a movie night with one of my friends, and so I went and picked out a bunch of like cheap movies at Family Video and whatnot, and I picked that one up because I was like, oh, this sounds really interesting. And no,
Yeah.
not even the. I'm not even gonna get started on the plot. It was very just. It just wasn't great. It could have been better, and not that I'm like trying to talk bad on like indie films, but this is one of the worst indie films I've ever
Can you
seen.
give us like a brief synopsis of like what goes down? Real quick, just real quick.
I honestly took me forever to try and figure this out, but like it's about these college students who are
Relatable.
putting on a like show about how this one girl died, but the one girl is actually a ghost and everyone dies.
Okay. I think that's
It's
all we
just-
need.
It's just weird. But like whatever, I could have gotten past the plot, but the audio was terrible as well. And this is me being like the media major I am coming out while not even like while I was watching this was like my freshman year, so I wasn't too far into my major. But every 5 seconds we had to change the volume on the audio because it was either
gosh.
too loud or too quiet.
Yeah.
The acting was terrible. Like
Indie films.
one of the main
Yeah, it's
actors was
usually-
like, he could have been good, but it was just
just wasn't.
It just wasn't. And then like just none of the camera shots are interesting, and I'm like,
Looked at it too
Why?
really critically, basically. Yeah.
I was. But the main thing was the audio. Like, you just had to keep changing it, and we're like, this wasn't even scary.
It like takes you out of the experience when you have to like
Yeah.
pick up the remote and like bring the
Yeah, you wanna
volume
be
thing up on the
immersed, don't
screen.
you,
You're not
really?
like yeah,
Yeah.
it breaks your suspension, you know.
But, then immediately after that movie, we put on an even scarier movie, and then just didn't sleep that night.
Awesome. Perfect.
What about you?
Last one.
So I do like a whole range of films. My favourite genre is comedy. I adore comedies, the way that they work and stuff like that. But I would have to say, one of my favourite films is probably Pirates of the Caribbean and The Curse of the Black Pearl. That probably is one of my
Why?
From a music point of view, I find the soundtrack
that's
absolutely amazing. But I just find at the time, it was something completely sort of unorthodox from what I've watched before. Like there's this weird sort of cocky pirate just sort of swanning about, and how he sort of leaps from success to success. I just found it entertaining to watch as a viewer, and I think it has a special place for me, like in my childhood, kind of just watching that for the first time. And on the flip side, like the worst films I've probably watched.
Pirates of the Caribbean 5.
Oh
that up
God!
there?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't want to get too political about it, but there's a point where it starts going
The second
downhill,
movie is when that happens.
probably. But there's this film, it's quite an old film. It's called Airplane, and it's basically set on an airplane, as you'd think, and there's like a terror threat on board, and it's a comedy from the moment that you kind of press play, basically. Every other second is filled with a joke, and it's terrible. Like the plot line's very like basic and stuff like that, but the comedy aspect for it is just non-stop, and I think that's kind of, whilst it's really bad in my opinion, I find it very funny and entertaining to watch. So it's kind of, I don't know, pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean, bad movies can be like
absolutely.
hilarious
Yeah.
to watch just because of how bad they are.
Okay, so I've watched all the Pitch Perfect movies, and
I love Pitch Perfect.
I know, I love it
Gosh.
too. Have you seen the third movie?
Not yet. Don't spoil anything.
The third movie, very interesting, because it, like, I liked the series. I liked watching them. But the third movie, I was like, this is so awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, why did they go this direction? Because it just, like, I'm not ragging on it, because, like I said, I loved the movie. It was, like, normal, and then all of a sudden, bam, we're another genre for about 20 minutes. And then I went back, and
Interesting.
I was like, but that was great.
Yeah.
Because it was something different than the other movies. I'm
That's-
not trying to spoil it for
I mean,
you.
that was like a big
but-
complaint about the second Pitch Perfect, was that like, oh, they're just retelling the first movie over
Yeah.
again. But that's now I want to watch it more. And I won't just watch it for Anna Kendrick like I did the second movie, because she's my wife.
Have
I
you
love
guys
her.
seen The Greatest Showman?
No, not
I
yet.
haven't yet. I've been meaning to get around to it. What
I
do you recommend?
can't wait for it to come out on DVD.
That's the one
Yes.
with Wolverine, right?
Yes.
Well,
I-
Hugh Jackman, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's Wolverine.
Okay, sure.
My friend took me to see it on my 21st birthday, and
Yeah.
we went to a theater that served drinks as well, so she bought me a drink there,
Oh,
and it was fantastic, and I can't wait for it to come out, and I listened to the soundtrack so much when I'm just, like, sitting in my car, I'll, like, turn my radio on all the way. Not good for my ears, but, whatever. And I'll just, like,
Screw your ears. Who needs them?
yeah.
exactly. And I'll just play, like, I play, like, one of 3 songs constantly. The This Is Me, that's a really good one. It's very, like, makes me feel, like, empowered now that when I listen to it. The Greatest Show is I really like that one as well. But From Now On,
Is that your favourite?
that one, yes.
Thank you all for joining us on this week of Let's Talk. Thank you
No
for being
problem.
here, our special guest.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Kinsey, as always. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Hey, you just watched Let's Talk. If you liked what you saw, check out more videos here. If you want to check out more from KNWT, click up here. And if you want to subscribe, click here.